7 News Detroit starts right now with a breaking news alert.
Our breaking story today, major news on Paul Whelan of Novi, who has been released from a Russian prison. It's part of a prisoner swap involving 24 people now set free. Good afternoon, I'm Ali Hoxie. It is believed to be the largest prisoner exchange between the U.S. and Russia since the end of the Cold War. Whelan and Wall Street journalist reporter Evan Gershkovich are two of the biggest names who have been released. Here is a live look now at the airport in Ankara, Turkey, where the swap is reportedly taking place. Turkey says it played as a mediator role in the historic exchange involving the U.S., Russia, and several other countries. Paul Whelan is a former U.S. Marine who has been locked up in a Russian prison since he was arrested nearly 6 years ago. Ever since, his family has been very vocal, fighting for his release and pleading with the Biden administration for help. Whelan was arrested in November of 2018 while traveling on an American passport for a wedding. Russia accused him of spying. He was convicted of espionage in 2020 and sentenced to serve 16 years in prison. The U.S. and his family have both been adamant this whole time that Whelan was wrongfully detained. Wall Street journalist Evan Gershkovich was arrested in March of last year and also accused of spying. He was convicted and sentenced to serve 16 years as well. Let's check in now with ABC's Perry Russom with much more on this breaking news story.
A senior Biden administration official says the prisoner exchange includes the release of 2 Americans, Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan. Both are expected to be in U.S. custody soon. Gershkovich is a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, arrested by Russian authorities in March of 2023.
We want him to come home as soon as possible.
Russian authorities charged Gershkovich with espionage, a charge both he and the U.S. deny.
We condemn the detention of Mr. Gershkovich in the strongest terms.
Gershkovich faced a 3-day trial in Moscow 2 weeks ago and was found guilty, sentenced to 16 years in Russian prison.
This was a fast, secret, and completely bogus trial. Everything about it was a sham.
Paul Whelan is a former Marine, arrested while traveling in Russia in 2018. He was also charged with espionage, convicted in 2020, sentenced to 16 years in prison. Whelan, the Biden administration, and Trump administration denied the allegation from Russian authorities. Secretary of State Antony Blinken asked about both Gershkovich's and Whelan's cases last month.
When it comes to Evan, when it comes to Paul Whelan in Russia, other Americans, we're working it quite literally every day.
The last high-profile prisoner exchange included basketball player Brittany Griner back in 2022. She was exchanged for a Russian weapons dealer. We are still waiting to learn more about this prisoner exchange. Perry Russom, ABC News, Washington.
The White House released a statement from President Joe Biden saying the U.S. negotiated the release of 16 people from Russia, including 5 Germans and 7 Russian citizens who were political prisoners in their own country. The president goes on to thank allied countries who stood with the U.S. during negotiations. And he said the U.S. is not stopping their work until every American wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world is reunited with their family. Of course, we are staying on top of this major news for you throughout the day. We are expecting an update from the president. If that does happen during our newscast, we will cut in and toss to President Joe Biden for the latest on this historic release. But in the meantime, make sure you stick with 7 and WXYZ.com for continuing coverage of Paul Whelan's release and other details of this massive prisoner swap.